Okay, I'm just gonna stop.
Good morning and welcome to CBBC's webinar series, Success at a Distance. My name is Avi Nagel. I'm a China business advisor with the CBBC. We are going to be running a series of events like this for the next couple months, where we're going to be talking about how British companies, international companies can think about building their businesses, growing their businesses in China, and working with China in our current situation. I think the current situation meaning the travel issues in terms of not being able to go over to China and meet people face to face. I think the current situation means the emerging Chinese consumer that is coming to the fore in terms of the interest that they have, how to connect and communicate with them. I think this means about how to physically send stuff over. So we'll be doing stuff in a couple weeks about logistics. And of course, it means how to be protecting yourself and your business interests through the proper legal agreements and how to kind of deal with some of the technical issues. So real quick introduction about CBBC for those of you that don't know. We are the leading UK-China trade association, and for more than 65 years, we've been helping British businesses understand the opportunities and challenge of working with China. We have a lot of events, although unfortunately mostly digital here in the UK at the moment. Hopefully be going back to live events in the near future. But what we try to do is bring together experts like Richard, who's going to be joining us today, to share their experience of working in China, working with China, and to be building a network of like-minded individuals and companies who are in this space. So we're all about helping businesses explore that opportunity, try to understand how their products and services fit into a very competitive and very challenging market, and really think through the trends that are going on in China and how we as international companies can be successful there, either working in China or working with Chinese here in third markets. So we are very lucky to have Richard Hoffmann joining us this morning. Richard, in addition to working in China, has the special experience of building a business in China. And I think this is one of the great things that we can discuss this morning is, what does it mean to actually build something organically? What are sort of the pluses and minuses? What are the difficulties and challenges that compare to building a business here in Europe? He set up his own tax and law joint venture out in China, and it was eventually they became sort of a market leader for firms that are working together with Germany. And as they built a great experience in terms of tax and legal advisory and M&A strategic advisory work, they grew at a point that was almost too good. They grew really fast, which is a problem that seems like isn't a problem, but it actually deals with its own challenges. And so Richard is going to share his experience about building that business, about working with foreign companies in China. He's going to talk for about 40 minutes or so. But while he does, we'll have a chance to think of questions that we can be peppering Richard with after he's done. There's a Q&A function at the bottom of the Zoom box. You can just see it at Q&A. Or if you want, you could put it into the chat box, and then we should have about 15 minutes or so to have a little bit of back and forth with Richard. So with no further ado, I would like to pass over to Richard and look forward to hearing from him this morning. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Avi. Yeah, I'm very glad to be here. Thanks, Avi, to make this happen, and also Chris was working in the background. Yeah, this presentation I'm going to share today is the story of my own life. So I will put on this presentation now. So I think you should be able to see it now, my screen, I believe. Yeah, so this is the story of my own life in Beijing. It is how I set up and run the business in China. And it's kind of, we were growing very fast, and the competitiveness necessarily didn't do that as we did. So the idea is today, to share what kind of structure we could put in place to grow fast, and also what kind of mechanism we put in place, and what kind of issues we faced as well. So this is who I'm working for right now. This is Ecovis. We are about tax advisors, accountants, auditors, lawyers. We are about 9,000 people in more than 80 countries. So all the red spots here is not the Corona hotspots. This is where Ecovis have locations. So we can covering a pretty big part of the world. This is me. So even I don't have the business in China, not anymore. I'm still related to China heavily every day. I'm running in Germany, a Heidelberg law firm, and I'm my daily business is about the China issues. We're helping still a lot of firms to do their business in China. Now, actually, the last 2 years, our business changed a bit about the model because of COVID-19. I'll come back to that later. But we also help Chinese investors to invest here in Germany. I am the co-founder and partner of Ecovis in China, which I will explain in a second. And I'm a board member of Ecovis International, the whole group that you just saw. I also have several supervisory positions in firms in China, and I will talk about this also in a second, why this is maybe interesting for you to look at this position as well. And because that's not enough, I'm also a lecturer at the Heidelberg University and teach some students. One of my last week, I had again the sessions with some students. Maybe some words about our law firm in China. We help specifically right now with anything related to China, but these days disputes are big. Yeah, why that? I mean, you all probably know this beautiful face mask that everyone has to wear, or this COVID-19 fast test kits. Well, most of them are produced in China, and a lot of them are just bought very quickly, and maybe the testing of these articles haven't been so good, and maybe so. And what we see that a lot of investors send too fast money to China, and now it's our job to get the money back and sue Chinese factories in fact. And this is quite interesting because years ago it was not be possible to be successful here, but as we will see later also in the slides, now there are quite good chances if you have a trouble in China with some of the production companies that you will succeed if your legal situation is good, and that you will win and that you get the money out as well and get it solved. But it takes time. So we're also helping with M&A, and what else do we do? Yeah, my special expertise, I mean, some other firms might do this as well, but we established really the largest legal and tax firm in Beijing for the German investors. So any kind of German company that went to China during that time, we're the number one to go to. And we personally, me and my colleagues have advised around 2,000 companies to invest in China about legal and tax issues. So we become really the market leader in Beijing in only 7 years. And this is very, very fast. And I will explain a bit how we did this. Maybe it's not all relevant to your business, but maybe partially it is. And it should be quite interesting to just also listen to the story, how it all worked out. But I would like to be interested in knowing also the situation now today from the audience. So would you mind to share in this chat, I give you 2 minutes for that, if you have your own company in China or why you're interested in China? If you just can give me one word or so or two, because I might adjust today's talk presentation a bit according to this feedback. So we'll wait now for 2 minutes. You can just put in the chat function. Yeah, it starts already. So thanks for that. That I learn a bit more about yourself, because I cannot see you right now. This is the disadvantage about these virtual meetings, that we have to work like this. So again, if you can put something in the chat function, I see someone has their own company in China. Someone is at the exploration stage. Thanks for that. Maybe I'll wait another minute. Oh, there are 2 people already have their own company in China. That's quite good. I mean, it's quite surprising. Often people just trade with China, but there's or the group has a company or whatever. Good. I think I just continue now. We have a feeling. So just to let you know that if you didn't see the chat, the 2 people have a company in China and one is exploring the opportunities right now. So I'm going to tell you now how I started my own business and how it all worked out. Just my simple life story. And maybe it might be, just very, it's kind of unique, but maybe not that unique as many things. Actually, when I started in China, I started as an intern. I worked for British tax and legal consultancy. So I was a fully licensed lawyer in Germany, but I really, really wanted to go to China. I really wanted to explore the life a bit. So then during that time, I was in a rush and I just said, hey, I want to just start somewhere. And there was this British tax and legal firm, and they said, Richard, we don't hire a lawyer right now, but if you want to do an internship here, you can do this. And if you're good, we're going to take you, and pay you later. And I said, okay, let's have a try, because I didn't have so much other opportunities. And I also want to work not for a German firm anymore. I did this long enough, right, in my past. So I just want to explore something different. So I went there, and this British firm still exists, is still growing good. And during that time when I was there, we were growing like 300%. So I realized they already had like 100 people, and when I left them, they had like 200 in China, or Greater China, also in some other Asian countries. And I realized that attracting clients and consulting clients, advising clients, is kind of thing that I really like. I have a good connection to, or build up good connection to the different embassies and all the other important networks. So, and all the clients like me, so, and like my advice. So I really also enjoyed working in China. So instead of staying 1 year, I stayed many years. And then I thought, but working for this British tax and legal firm was at the time, I wanted to have a change. So I applied for a job at Ecovis Shanghai during that time. So I went there to an interview, and met the colleagues in Shanghai and said, hey guys, you have a job offer, I am interested. And then we discussed, the salary package, and I said my number that I would like to achieve. They said, well, this is a bit too extreme, but there might be another opportunity, because actually it would be good if we have an office in Beijing. So then I met another person, a lady that got introduced to me, and a Chinese lady, and then we decided together, okay, we could make that happen, because it's sometimes better to have some Chinese professional on your side. We signed a contract, and then we set up Ecovis in Beijing. So that's how it all started in 2012. And then it just was as a total growing, fantastic life, so it was really wild. Like Ivy mentioned, we were just growing dramatically. When you see now in a second the chart, it might be a bit misleading. Of course, there's a lot of it's correct, the chart, it's not no lie, but it's I tell you in a second. So we grow from beginning of 2012 to the end of 2013 from 2 to around 20 people. But I have to admit, we had also interns, and we also had freelance. So it's not all full-time people, it's also part-time people that we hired. But we had, at the end, we moved twice in 2 years our office, because we were growing so fast, which was fantastic. We know, and we had the sales, of course, what kind of volume turnover we brought in was just growing also dramatically. I mean, if you come from 0 to grow 800%, it's not that difficult, but we had just a very, very good time. And also the customers. You might think, I was specialized in the German-China corridor, but I mean, we served clients. You see all these blue spots probably from all these different jurisdictions in China. So they're also British business or American business or Italian or French or you name it, right? So we had in 1 year we had 120 new clients, which is extremely a lot for a startup of 2 people. So if you might think, oh, Richard was just lucky, I was just sitting there and waiting and the clients just walking in, and this is not true, right? I was working very, very hard for this and very strategically working for this, and I will share in a second how we did this. First but we should talk about the legal structure, because I was thinking a lot what kind of legal structure we should have. I would be interested also in your opinion. So we set up an office in Hong Kong and a subsidiary in Beijing. The subsidiary in Beijing, I will tell you later. I told you I had a cooperation with the Chinese lady, and we set together up the Hong Kong company and then the entity in Beijing. My question for you now is do you think that setting up of these hubs, no, jumping too fast, setting up of this Hong Kong company was necessary and useful? You think it was a good idea for myself to set up the Hong Kong company? And we can chat later maybe if it would be also a good idea to do it now. I put in the link right now in the chat function. So if you would do me the favor and take again 1 minute and click on yes, no, or maybe, and I will share later the results with you, that would be great. I'm doing this on purpose a bit virtually with you. I'm doing it on purpose, trying to get your attention once in a while, so that you guys stay awake and listen carefully to my presentation. Yeah, I will share later the results. I would like to continue here. Yes, you can also write just in the chat function if it's easier for you. If you think the foundation of Hong Kong company was necessary or not, right? So that's maybe the easier way. In fact, for myself, I mean, why didn't I set up? Because if you have a relationship with or if you set up a company with somebody together, right? And here I set up with a Chinese person. Why didn't I set up a joint venture directly in China with this Chinese lady? Number one, and you always need to consider that it was and is most of the time not mandatory to have a Chinese person directly in your business or a Chinese entity in your business. Meaning it was not mandatory from Chinese laws and regulations that I have a Chinese partner. So I didn't need to have a Sino foreign joint venture. So there was no rule, no law, and there is not that for this kind of business you need to have a Chinese partner. Secondly, it was the minimizing of risks. Why that? I mean, in case of a dispute, and this might always happen that you might have a dispute. Hong Kong is UK-based law. It's not, I know, I mean, we might have some certain lawyers and other expertise here from Hong Kong, you might, and also from the UK. You might know it's not the same, but it's based on it. So it's kind of similar in comparison to Chinese law, at least. And therefore you have, well, as a foreigner, you have more the feeling of an equal treatment potentially, right? Especially when I set it up many, many years ago. Then what we also were considering, we thought about bringing in new shareholders, new investors, or maybe make a restructuring, what we did at the end as well. It's also much easier in Hong Kong, can be done in days or hours, and not like in China in many weeks or months. And also we thought about, and what we also did, we considered Hong Hong Kong as an Asia hub for further investment. We invested heavily in an online accounting platform, for example, during that time. So we used that specifically for a base to set up. So during that time, it was a fantastic decision. It was good. And right now, we can talk about this if this is still useful. I can tell you in most of the cases, it's not that useful anymore like it used to be. And due to all the changes in the Hong Kong laws. But for some of you, it might be extremely useful. So if you consider setting up something in China, and especially if you have a Chinese partner, you might consider this kind of structure, having somewhere the joint venture, not necessarily mainland China. There are many, so what kind of entity we had in China? There are many different types, right? There are WFOEs, that means wholly foreign-owned enterprise. There are rep offices, FIs, foreign invested partnership enterprises, all this kind of legal structures. But I think most of any foreign investor is looking for having a 100% owned company. That means 100% control. You can hire directly your staff, and that would be the WFOE, the so-called WFOE, wholly foreign-owned enterprise. So this is normally that everyone takes if they don't have any good reason to take another structure. And very important, you have a limited liability, which is great if you have, I mean, if something goes wrong and you're only liable with the initial cash contribution, then this is fantastic. You don't have personal liability, which is different, for example, with a law firm. A law firm like my law firm, I'm personally responsible at the end and personally responsible for my advice. If I do something wrong, I might lose my house in the worst case if my insurance doesn't cover it. With a WFOE, like a limited liability company, you will never have that issue. Another question I have now, so now we moved on, 2012, I set up the company, and now we have 2021, so 9 years later. Do you think that it's easy to do business in China compared to the rest of the world? These questions are crucial for your strategy. I will show you in a second why. Do you think it's easy to do business, to set up a business, and to run a business, to have a legal dispute, in talking about mainland China, not Hong Kong? So there's a ranking, right, between number 1 and 190, and Germany ranks 22nd, and UK ranks number 8. Do you have an idea how China ranks? You can put this in the chat box. I wait for 1 minute again. This is also, I think, the last time I will raise for your feedback until the Q&A. 47, there comes the number 47. Any more guesses? 5, wow, that's quite a good number as well. Any more guesses? And I really like how active you are, by the way. Great audience, fantastic. I was thinking I have to talk only to the screen the whole day, but this feedback I'm getting here is fantastic. Somewhere between 30 and 40 is a very good guess, my dear Alex. I show you that. We have only, maybe changed a bit, sorry for that, but I couldn't figure out the newest number. So for 2019, based on the World Bank, China ranks 31st. So not that bad, not that difficult to do business in China in 2019, right? So question, did it went better now 2020 or worse in 2021? I think the whole COVID-19 situation shaked everything up. I mean, you couldn't really go to China anymore and do business. So I couldn't find newer numbers. Maybe some of you do, but I couldn't. But you see, rank 31st is not so bad. And especially because China jumped from 78th to 46th place from 2007 to 2018. So there's a really strong performance in making a business easier in China, to starting and business easier, and also to have easier to succeed in China, which is great, for everyone who's doing business in China as a foreign investor. China is one of the top 10 improvers. So if people tell you, yeah, China is always difficult and you can never get your right if you have a legal dispute with someone, well, there's probably old people talking, or these old China hands talking that are not seeing the changes that China does right now. So it's getting, I don't know what COVID-19 says, but in general, it should be much easier now than years ago to set up your business, to get it running, and to proceed with this. What I really think is very, very interesting is this kind of table. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you slept till now, some of you are waking up now, look at this table and take a screenshot of that. I think that's one of the really interesting table about enforcing of contracts and starting a business. You can see that China is just not one city, it is a big country. For example, the starting of business is very easy in Guangzhou. Yeah? So number 3, it's yellow here highlighted. And enforcing contracts, even green, so number 1. Yeah? So if you have a dispute in Guangzhou, you might be in a good position to win your case very fast. But if you, for example, want to enforce a contract in Lanzhou, right? Lanzhou, very bad. Yeah. So better. So that also is a kind of a strategy. If you set up a business, where do you want to set up? Do you think there might be easy disputes about your contract arrangement, your product? Then you might consider some of the big cities as well, or some of the safer places. Instead, one of the places where it's not so safe. Even there might be much cheaper, maybe real estate is cheaper, maybe the salary is much cheaper, but at the end, you might pay more at the end because of enforcing contracts or other issues that you just face continuously. So that's why I think that's a very good, it's a good idea to look at this table when you consider to doing business in China. Whatever it is, if you're just doing trading with the Chinese company, or if you set up your own entity, whatever you do, it's good to have a look at this. You don't need to follow it necessarily together, but to get an idea where to run your business easier is good. I'm a simple person, right? I'm easy, I don't like complex things. I guess I just try to. I'm living by the 80% rule. Yeah? So 80% is normally good for me. I'm seldom drive for the 100%, maybe 99, but 100% is seldom for myself. So I put business in China in a nutshell. So it's very easy to set up from my perspective. You don't need a minimum capital anymore. It dropped a year ago. So if you're going for research, Google research, and you think that there might be a minimum capital requirement, it's just not existing anymore. So this is wrong. But there are practical requirements about cash flow. We could talk about this in much more in detail. So if you have questions about the cash flow requirement for running your business, or how to get your money out of China, if it's stuck there, let me know. There are no restrictions of hiring staff in general, right? There are also some small laws and regulations that sometimes change this, but you can hire as many Chinese and others as you want. You can also hire as many foreigners as you want. Sometimes it's connected with the religious capital in certain cities, but generally speaking, there are no restrictions. What is a disadvantage of going to China? The incorporation cost. It's comparable high. It takes time and it's high. It's rental cost. You need to rent a real office. A virtual office is generally, again, I just say generally, there are some exemptions, not okay. You need to do accounting, audit of your entity. These are costs, and you have to do it based on international standards better, because you will be more, well, it's important to be in compliance, especially if you are a foreign investor. To avoid any kind of trouble, you must make sure that you're compliant with your Chinese entity, and therefore these kind of costs are, I think, considerable. It's not that cheap that people might think. It's far away from the UK. How to go there, and especially during COVID-19 times, you might hear that right now there's a 4 weeks quarantine in China if you want to travel to China. 4 weeks is a long time. And what we hear that this will be likely to be for another 10 months. So I even heard there's a big quarantine center built up with hundreds and even thousands of places. So don't expect to think that China will be open up the doors very easily in the future for trips, for business trips. And the control, how do you control the business in far distance, right? It's a bit of a challenge. How do you make sure you have the right people on the ground? How do you have the right setup for controlling a company in the distance? So what we did, we were growing much faster than the competitors. And I'll tell you a bit about why, what kind of strategies we put in place and also how we kept it running from the distance. Number one, we provide a one-stop service. That means we provided accounting, tax services, and we could, with our partners in China, provide audit services and all the other services related to that. So we made sure that our clients always come back to us, and we helped them. We didn't even make money with some of these services, but just to help and to keep the client contact. We had very strong marketing. Now we had a very strong marketing approach, which I will talk about this a bit more in a second. We had a great reputation, and we still have. And this is deserved, in my opinion, with all the embassies. If you look at the back of my room here, these certificates, are still from different embassies in China that we worked for, and that said, well, we're working with Richard Hoffmann and his Equivist team have been very, very good for us. And we helped them with troubles that nobody else could help to. And we have been very fast in responding, and all these kind of things that are very crucial to run a good business. And we were really highly interested in having, and this is maybe the secret of our success, the best stuff, the battle for the best. We were really trying to get the best employees. And about this, I want to talk a bit more in a second. So this here you can see a picture of our team. We all dressed in football clothes. Why football clothes? We are one of our clients. Several of our clients are one of the belong to the football clubs in Europe that set up entities in China. So we help them with all their legal and tax arrangements and whatever there is necessary for doing a business in China. What you can see on this picture is, number one, there are a lot of ladies, right? So there are not so many men. It's because the professional industry in China is often business where ladies are in, which I always liked. And secondly, our working hours have been always very friendly, human. So people start working at 9:30 and they left at 6:30 or something in the evening. When I walked around the office at around 7, I was normally the one that stayed the latest. So the working hours were not so hard. So it's easy to have your kids, your family beside working in our office, which I think is very crucial as well. And also, it gives, I believe in a kind of a fair work-life balance. And I believe you always stay with a company for a longer time if they treat you correctly. So we try to do this as much as we could. Now I want to talk a bit about how to motivate your employees in faraway China, because China is far away, to outperform others. I'm a bit of a competitive guy, so maybe you realize, or you know me from my past. Maybe some of you met me personally. I sometimes try to be better than others. I try to run faster. I do a lot of sports, and I try also to have a business that is maybe better than others sometimes, or trying to give a bit more advice, a much more precise advice than others. And even now, if I'm not a German tax advisor, but I'm already starting to challenge my own tax advisor sometimes, because I read about things, and this is just who I am. But I guess by myself, I'm not Marfan client. Marfan is a little bit troublesome client. So, but anyway, how do we motivate our employees in faraway China? And this I will show you in a second. Why faraway China? Because I moved back to Germany at some point, and then I had to manage it from distance. So the last 4 years of having a China entity, I actually was living in Germany already. Yeah. So battle for the best. There's no secret. Everyone tries to get the best employees. I mean, some big companies not. Funny thing is, but we tried always to get the best and really the best. So we went everywhere where could be potentially good stuff, and we also had kind of a finding fee for our staff to find others that I think they're good. So as you know. Excellent people always find excellent people or have a tendency to know other excellent people. So we had kind of a finding fee, which encouraged them also to, to bring their friends and good people also on board. But I think it was not only that, we also talked a lot. We had presentations in universities, and we still have. So we try to be everywhere where good stuff would be. And also we tried really to keep them, not only finding them, hire them, but also keep them in our offices. So we paid a good salary. Good salary doesn't mean extremely high salary. And some of our competitors paid much, much more, but we paid a good, fair salary. I don't want to overpay anyone. I don't want that they just stay because the payment is so good. I want that they stay because the payment is fair and they feel treated good, and they just enjoy working with us. We had a scalable bonus. What I mean with that, our employees and our staff got commission and got paid based on their performance. So it's not only about how much money they brought in and how much they served the clients, but also other soft skills that they did, like helping their colleagues and training their colleagues, or doing something good for the company, coming up with good ideas. So we had a scalable bonus, which were very attractive and also foreseeable for our staff. We had, and we still have, the family spirit. We care, meaning, I mean, everyone talks about this, but I spent generally, when I was traveling to China, around 50% of my time speaking with the team, speaking with the staff. Each one of them, I know each one of them by heart. I know their names, I know about their families, I know about their kids, or I talk with them in person, one-to-one talks and dinner talks. So I take the time to talk with them, and people appreciate that, right? So I spend a lot of time with that, and also did my partner. So not only me, and also did all the managers. So it's not about just running and making money. It's about really caring, and the rewards you get anyway at the end. We involve them in decision making. That means, I don't know right now, so like if there's a new tax law going up, or what is the best for our company. Sometimes, your team, your colleagues know much better than yourself. So it's good to talk to them and get their ideas and listen to it and implement it. And we had something that we call 8MMM, which, well, I will talk about this also in the next slide a bit. Just have to, it's about how we structured our Monday meetings. So each Monday we had a manager meeting, and it was supposed to go really quick. So in the beginning, we had only 4 managers, and everyone was only supposed to talk for 2 minutes. That's why the 8 minutes come from 8 minutes manager meeting, right? So anyway, at the end, it was always in 1 hour, and we had more managers later on anyway. So we had like 8 managers, and we had different locations. We had a location in Beijing, in Tianjin, and Heidelberg. But we always had the same kind of structure that I put down here. And I think there are a couple of things that I would like just to point out here. Number one, we always had like a positive, it might sound funny, but a positive introduction. So everyone in our group had to say something positive in the beginning. Yeah. So not like, oh, I'm so tired. If you start a meeting and there are 8 people and they're looking at you and say, oh, I'm so tired, I have a headache, and the weekend was horrible and my dog is sick, whatever. This is not a good start for a meeting. But if everyone says, hey, I'm feeling enthusiastic and I had a fantastic weekend, I'm looking forward to the week, this gives a very positive atmosphere. And we always had that, even it went very quick. Then we talked about, of course, like the typical things about the financials and what kind of clients we got. But also I think it's quite crucial that we talked about upselling and cross-selling. That means we talked about clients that we had, and we talked, upselling and cross-selling might be the wrong terms. Apologies for that. It sounds maybe too much like a salesperson. But what I meant is do we really serve this client the best? Do we really help him with all the questions he had? Do we really find the best tax structure for this person, for this company? Did we fulfill all his wishes? So it's more about that, and then always the combination about legal and tax. So we didn't only look at the tax side, but also at the legal side, which is very, very crucial. I mean, you can be the best tax advisor in the world, but if you have the wrong legal framework, then you don't have then there will be no success. Same with the opposite round. If you can be the best lawyer, right? But if you don't have a good tax structure, especially in this international environment, you lose. So we always looked at these 2 sides, and that made us very strong. And that's why we had very high valued advice to our clients. I think that was a kind of a very crucial, important step for us. I'm happy to send you, and I'll show you this here in a second. This kind of is the original document. If you want to have this afterwards, let me know. Or if you just want to take a screenshot about this, I'm also fine. But you can see the team, the staff was the center of our attention. Everything else was crucial, but not that crucial like the team. We had, for example, which I also think is, and I like the saying here from Henry Ford, we put a lot of effort in marketing. Henry Ford said, stopping advertising to save money is like stopping your watch to save time. And I just got a question here, if we can have the copy of the presentation. You can, I think it's anyway recorded and it will be on YouTube and everywhere later. Avi will share this later, the information, but you can have, of course, a copy of that if you use it for your own purposes. And don't share with the competitors. That's a joke. Competitors can surely also read this, and I don't care. We have, China, why I say IT localized. I have often companies that say, well, we manage our IT from Germany or from the UK. It's just China. It's just another hub like, Spain or whatever, or other countries. This is very wrong. China is so different from the IT. They're so advanced. So you need to localize that without having a Chinese website running on a Chinese server. You are done. Yeah. So you have to, the Chinese are much better with their own IT knowledge than we are in Europe these days. And so trust them, do it correctly, have a look at this, but do it correctly and let them do it. We had a lot of events. We participated in a lot of events and we gave our own presentations and cooperated with different partners, which is always very beneficial. And we had, of course, very strong contacts with clients. We met them, we traveled them, we had personal meetings. Just to give an idea what we have 2019, as a legal and tax firm, that's a lot. We had in 2019 as a summary, and you can see I'm going a bit faster now because I want to give you a bit time later for the question answering session. We had 50 events in 1 year, so presentations, webinars, video forecasts, radio shows, whatever is there, the 50. This was a team, not only me, but we had a marketing team doing that. We had around posts, 74, and we had reached 87 new clients in 2019. So these are the figures that are quite impressive, I believe, for a firm in China. 2020 numbers are totally different due to COVID-19 and the restructuring. So growth from a distance. As I said, I moved March 2015 to Germany, but we still grow and growing and growing. We kept growing by that. The one thing is really crucial, and this makes it right now a bit difficult, is the frequent trips to China. In China, it's no face, no business. So I believe a personal meeting is very, very crucial. And I'm sorry to everyone that cannot travel right now to China, but then do like we did with video conference as well. We did it every Monday, like a clockwork, never stopped it. Even on holidays, I always have been there, never stopped, which is very crucial. I mean, the managers could stop, the staff could stop, but I always joined. And if you are leading a company in faraway China, my suggestion is be always really committed to it and also do it. If you can travel to China, it's even more important that you do this regularly. Of course, WeChat, is very crucial and very important. Just my warnings here, be very sensible about the data that you're sharing. A big brother might watching and reading, so use it more like a communication tool, easy tool, not to share insights of your clients or your portfolio. And I did it very strong, and I'm still a very finance oriented person. So you can call me control freak, but the first thing I always do when I wake up in the morning, I even lie in the bed, I control the finance of my operation. Yeah. I always have this, I know exactly what are the numbers of the entities we are running, and I have several supervisor positions in different companies now. I'm also very aware about the finance, because if you're looking at the finance, you can see if something goes wrong. Very easily, you can track it, and then you can implement changes. And also, if you watch it carefully, normally nothing is happening. That's the funny thing, is people are aware about this. I shared this to everyone. Everyone knew that I'm looking at the finance all the time, that I knew exactly each morning what is the exact figures of each of the entities we're heading in all of the different departments. So yeah, I think that's quite crucial. I give you an example. What I think is often neglected in China is the position as supervisor. If you set up an entity in China, there's one, you have the board of directors, and you have the supervisor, which is kind of a control function. Very, very often I hear from competitors of us or from other advisors, they say, hey, the supervisor function, you can just put in anyone. It doesn't matter. There's not a real function. But my experience is different. Put in someone that you really trust and understand the financial of your operation, because the supervisor can change. He's personally responsible for your entity in China. It's a personal liability as well. So if you have someone that you can trust, that has a good understanding of the legal and tax area in China, but also in the UK or in Europe, it is very, very good. So that you are having a control person and also someone that understands international business. Otherwise, you're very easily stuck that you cannot get out your money of China, because dividend distribution is difficult because of some easy compliance issues. Yeah. I'm going to the end of this. Is kind of my presentation for today. I think I'm a few minutes over the time, but it's still fine. Any questions, you can always put it here in the chat box, or you can ask it now, and later you can also call me or drop me this is my personal mobile phone, so I trust you and that you'll use it carefully. Otherwise, if too many funny calls coming, I will not answer anymore. And also I would like to point out that I have a very strong connection with our China entities. In China, we have Ping Wenhu, which is a fantastic leader of our Shanghai office. And we have in China now with Equivis Root and Equivis TCU around 10 entities in China. So we can serve pretty much all the China parts much better than we did years before. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Richard. Really insightful to hear your journey. Super impressive to go from 2 to 20 to 70 in the couple of years that you did. Really good question from one of our attendees. Sufyan asks, how do we deal with chops remotely? Obviously, we know that chops are so crucial for kind of implementing agreements and contracts. You would like to have that control. You'd like to have them, as the head of the company, sort of accessible, so no one can kind of run away with your business. we can't be there physically right now. So how would you recommend dealing with that at the moment?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. First of all, I mean, what are jobs in China, right? How important are they in all over the world? I'm simplifying things, but in all over the world, if you want to get something done, you have to sign up on it personally, like a signature. Not in China, right? In China, the signature can be replaced by a job, which or must be replaced. So different jobs. There's the job of the company job, the finance job, the job of the legal representative. Yeah. So meaning these jobs you must be very carefully in whose hands are these, right? So if you are normally you should have them by yourself if you're running a company, at least the crucial one, legal representative job or finance job, or you should separate them. What could be an option if you are not in China, you give it to a third party, at least some of them. So what I know that, for example, also Ecovis or other lawyers do, they kept the job on your behalf, and your China team is running, and maybe have some of the jobs to run the daily business, but not all of them. The crucial jobs where you can sell or close a company, you kept with the third party service provider, and then you advise them by email and say, okay, now make a job of that. So this is quite good solution, I believe. It might slow down certain times the entity in China, but not really much, because normally your advisor will be very close to you, and your staff can easily go there and sign the contract and chop it then accordingly, or chop the contract and all the other things. And then you have kind of the security there. So this is what we currently recommend. And also the third party is then number two, which is very crucial. They should have a record of this. And if you don't know how to, I mean, they should make a record of what kind of contract, what kind of reason they have to use this job, and what is the background of this, where is the email that confirms they should use the job. And also what you make sure in this contract, that the third party service provider is responsible for any wrongdoing, so that they're liable for it. This is quite crucial as well, I think. So in case something goes wrong, you never know that you have somebody that pays for it.
I think that the chop issue really underscores, I think, a sort of a fundamental point about China, which is, you can choose to do things cheap and hope that nothing goes wrong. Hey, I'm going to trust someone, or you need to kind of go to a professional advisory firm in some cases. And obviously, if we're a small company, that's an expense that we don't want to have. But I would say, if you cannot afford that expense, if you cannot afford the expense of having your chop sit with a professional service advisor that you have full confidence in, then maybe you need to be reevaluating China as an opportunity for you. Otherwise, you're begging someone to do something that's really going to set your business back. And we've heard so many stories in the past about this taking place. Yeah. Other questions from the audience. Richard, you're gonna chime in. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think if the other questions coming, I'm happy to answer them. Just one more thing. I mean, I mentioned we have 2,000 companies that we served in China, roughly. So we and I saw a lot of them also. I had a lot of discussion with companies that wanted to enter the Chinese market, and I saw a lot of companies also fail. And the number one reason they failed is less of finances, right? Less of financial commitment. Could be financial commitment, could be personal commitment. It always goes hands in hands. In China, maybe more crucial than other countries, they want to see the big Laoban, the big boss once in a while, right? And it's okay. It's fully okay to do it by video calls, right? But if the big boss, I mean, normally now in the COVID-19 times it's okay. But if they never show up, never show their interest, and never talk to the key stuff, then there might be a lack of motivation and a reason for the entity.
Yeah, that's one of the questions I wanted to ask, which is, obviously, you were going, basically once a month previously. I'm sure you haven't been to China for quite some time. We know for business development, we know for kind of building relationships and closing deals that personal touch is so important in China. What have you seen be different in the past, let's say 18 months, in terms of the business development cycle for acquiring new clients? And How was it previously in your role previously, and what are you doing now to kind of secure business?
Mhm. So, I mean, that here I have to differentiate because I have to look at what I'm doing for my German law firm in Heidelberg. Here we don't travel so much to China, we cannot right now, and here the business was running very good because of the new COVID-19 situation that I mentioned in the beginning. You know, this mask that we that everyone has to wear, and the COVID-19 this test kits that everyone is using right now, and all the problems with that. So this is so my business in Germany is just going extremely well. Yeah, due to that, I'm sorry for all that lost money, but you know, that's just how we helping them to get it back. Yeah, so that's the good news. For my colleagues in China, I mentioned Ping Wen, for example, in Shanghai. I have a very strong connection to her, and we share a lot of clients as well. That was the last 2 years is a bit difficult. Yeah, we are still on the growth path, but we see less companies entering right now. Now China is kind of on hold back. We have a lot of clients lined up that are kind of waiting to go into the market again and starting a business, but a lot of them are just, you know, not doing the big step right now. But also, we don't see a lot closing down. I would think that would be more liquidation, more, you know, companies would say, hey, we have financial difficulties. They don't. And the companies that are already in China and doing production, like UK companies, German companies, whatever, they're normally doing quite well, even in the last 2 years in China. So they normally have a good production growth rate.
Great. So unless there's anyone with a burning question, I think we're going to leave it there. So thank you very much, Richard, for joining us this morning, and thank you for sharing you know, your insights. Like I said, we'll be passing along the deck to those that signed up, and then as Richard's contact information. I'm sure he'd be more than happy to talk to you about your China journey and you know, pitfalls and you know, potential issues, be it technical or kind of strategic, that him and his team can help you with. Maybe before we leave, we'll throw up our slide real quick on some of the other events that we're running. So it should be there in a minute. As I said, we're going to be running a series in the coming weeks. We're going to be looking next about kind of building brand awareness through digital marketing, and then, you know, to Richard's point, you know, how to assess the financial resources that you need to go into China. I wholeheartedly agree with your comment about a lot of companies kind of don't plan enough and don't sort of have the financial resources to be executing on that plan. So it's always incumbent to kind of think at step one about how to do that. From there, we're gonna talk about some of the technicalities about getting paid, and then of course about e-commerce for the groups that are involved in that. Anyway, lots more stuff that's going on. As I said, we're mostly remote from the UK at the moment. For any colleagues or staff that are in China, we are having events in China, and I would suggest everyone to check our events calendar, which you can find at cbbc.org. So thank you again to Richard. Thank you again for all of you for joining us this morning, and hope to talk to everyone in the near future. All the best.
Thank you, Avi, so much, and thank you, Chris, as well in the background. Thanks all of the listeners. Bye-bye.